So last week, I got to attend a special screening for the very first episode of the live action One Piece. And I just have not been able to stop thinking about it or talking about it. So I decided to make a video on it because I want to get my thoughts out there. And just right off the bat, I loved it. I cannot stop just thinking about it. I'm so excited for the rest of the world to see this. I'm so excited for myself to see the rest of the episodes since I've only seen the first one. And before I get into all of that, I want to just talk briefly about myself and just some quick things. And I'm going to keep it real short. I'm a big One Piece fan. I have been following One Piece for about 5 years. I'm caught up to everything. I read week to week when there is a chapter, and I watch the anime as well. And I have fallen in love with that world. It has it's like my Star Wars. It means so much to me. I love the chemistry between the Straw Hats. I think that's my favorite part about this whole series, and I love the various interactions amongst the side characters. It to me, it's always felt like a pirate themed Dungeons and Dragons campaign. Oda's the dungeon master of his own crazy fun D&D campaign, and it's awesome, and I love it. I also love the art style a lot. It's very influential for me as an artist. It's super appealing. Oda should teach a course on character design because his character designs are so fun. And there's just nothing quite like it. And I think that's why it's uh, appealed to so many people, and that's why it's lasted this long. Um, I'm also just an average Joe. I'm a nobody. This is my very first video. I've never done this before. But I was so impressed by what I saw that I just had to make a video and talk about it. And I hope this leads to more videos. I think it'd be a lot of fun to talk about how the series ends up doing, talking about each episode and comparing it to the manga. And then the final thing I'll say is my opinions are my own. This is all opinion based and this is all subjective. Like I said, I'm just a fan. This event that I went to last week was free. No one's paying me to say anything. I might like something that you might not like, and you probably will like something that I don't like. And even before I get into anything with the show, I'll keep it non-spoilery. This first episode is about an hour long, and I believe it covered like episodes 1 through 4 in the anime. We get through Luffy meeting Zoro basically, and the only kind of big difference here is that Nami joins them a lot earlier than she does in the original source material. But before I get into any of that, I want to talk about adaptations in general. Like, let's not even compare this show and let's not even talk about anime manga adaptations alone. Let's talk about all of the adaptations, big fantasy novel adaptations, video game adaptations. Let's bring them all into the conversation. And for me personally, what I think makes a great adaptation is two things. The first one is the main goal of a project should always be to try and make the best movie or best TV show before anything else. The other thing that I think makes a great adaptation is once you've set your goal to make the best possible TV show or film, you of course go back to the source material and you do respect the source material. And that doesn't mean that we have to make everything look exactly like the video game or the novel or the comic book. It just means that you need to try and capture the spirit and the point. Like, what is the point of this story? And can you translate that into your take? Which is something that a lot of adaptations miss all the time. Small ones, the big tentpole films, the big comic book movies, sometimes they miss the point. And then that's when you get all of the same thing kind of repeating. That's why we have a string of movies that all kind of feel the same because they're just trying to copy each other, but not try and uh, find what makes them unique and original. So, like, you have some great adaptations, in my opinion. Lord of the Rings, most of the Harry Potter movies, the Marvel movies, especially the earlier phases. Those movies were great, in my opinion. They were a lot of fun, and I think a lot of people share that opinion because of how well received they were. They had heart. They adapted the characters in a very fun and unique way. They added their own spin on things. So after seeing this first episode, I felt the love for this franchise from the people that made it. This felt like something that was made by fans and great filmmakers and writers, which is all you could ask for something like this. I felt the passion. They understood the point of One Piece, and they also understood that they needed to, first and foremost, just make a great show, an entertaining fantasy action adventure show that was captivating and fun. And that was kind of my personally, that was my um, bar to hit with this show. I just wanted it to be fun. As long as it was fun to watch, that's all I could ask for. That's all I wanted. I wanted this to just be decent. And I swear to you, the event and being there had nothing to do with how I felt watching this episode. It did not sway my opinion. And honestly, neither does being a One Piece fan. Was it fun to see these characters in live action? Was it fun to see the sets and the ships and all the little Easter eggs? Yes, it was. But I tried my hardest to view this with an unbiased lens. Just take it for what it was, you know? But I swear to you, I was not swayed by my opinion because of the event. And let me paint a picture for you that hopefully really sells that point home. We watched this thing outside on a pier. We were sitting on the ground. I was sitting on the ground on a very bumpy wooden pier floor in the middle of the night, and there were helicopters flying around us like every 5 minutes. And it made it hard to hear sometimes, and it was annoying. But despite that, despite all the noise and the distraction, I was smiling the entire time. I was laughing. It was so good, guys. I can't I don't know what else to I'm just gushing over it. And I don't know what else the team could have done. I don't know what else they could have done to make this better than what I saw. You know, like I had zero complaints with this episode. I can't think of any. The dialogue, the way the characters interact with each other, and the humor, it all felt very One Piece, but translated into live action. And I just saw this the other day, but if you want to get a really good sense of how this show is going to feel, there's a clip on YouTube that was released of Sanji talking to Zeph in the Bratier, which I didn't get to see that episode because I believe that episode's like episode 5 in this live action series. And we don't see it for a bit. It was really cool. It reminded me of Hell's Kitchen, and I don't watch The Bear, but there's some bear vibes in there. And I thought it felt really cool. Check that out because that's a great example of quiet moments in this show, which for me, that's what I love about One Piece. And they delivered on that so well. And that's also a great example of this isn't a live action take, right? This is this team's take on One Piece. There are going to be some new things, but I think that despite those new things, everything felt authentic. Luffy to me feels like Luffy, and Yaki did a fantastic job. Zoro, Nami, they all feel like the characters. They feel like heightened but realistic versions of the characters. And that doesn't always work. Luffy's a cartoon. He's the most cartoony out of everyone. And even more so in the East Blue saga in the beginning of the series. I love this character. Got a bunch of little Luffy figurines all around my apartment. But I took a while to warm up to this character. I didn't really like him in the beginning. I didn't hate him, but he was a little annoying to me. And I think a lot of people feel that way when they first start the series. A lot of people see Zoro and they're like, oh, this guy's cool. This is my favorite character. And as the series progresses, I think most of us start to fall in love with Luffy more because of what he goes through. So, remember that when you watch uh this series. We're going back to the beginning again, right? So Nami's a little colder and has trust issues because for obvious reasons. Zoro is also a little colder and stoic, and he stays stoic throughout the series, but he warms up a little bit because he gets to know his newfound family. And Luffy, I think, also learns a lot from just being around people and being the center of this found family. Luffy is so charming in this, and maybe he's a little nicer than what I remember in the anime. He's kind of mean to Kobe when he first meets him, but ultimately still cares. And in this live action adaptation, I think Luffy's a little more understanding and a little nicer up front, but he's still very much that character. He will put himself in situations without thinking. He will say things that are kind of silly. He's overly confident. So I don't know, it all felt so right. I felt the same way I felt when I was watching early Marvel movies in the theater and being a big comic book fan, having read the Infinity Saga, Infinity Gauntlet storylines, and growing up with both the comics, the cartoons, playing Marvel video games, and just being a huge fan and sitting in that theater and feeling so excited about every scene and like what was to come next and the post-credit scenes. And again, the quiet moments. I loved all of the quiet moments that really humanized these characters. And this first episode did that. The pacing was great. It covers a lot of stuff. We get a couple flashbacks. The bulk of this episode is Shellstown, Luffy meeting Zoro, and then Nami, like I said, is introduced into the mix. And the scenes that have all of these characters together, the very first scene that has all of them together, it felt a little bit like Guardians of the Galaxy to me. Like that very first Guardians movie when all of the Guardians characters are on I forget the name of the planet, the Nova's headquarters planet. This, ragtag group of strangers, or again, to bring Dungeons and Dragons back into it, the classic a bunch of random adventurers meet in a tavern. That kind of feeling and setup was in this scene of all the characters in the restaurant slash bar on Shellstown. And that scene was so fun. There was a lot of great action in it, a lot of great lines and jokes. And there was just a lot of ownership in this show with the script, but it always to me felt authentic. Like there's a great Helmeppo, in my opinion, steals this episode, and I wasn't expecting to love Helmeppo as much as I did. And I won't say what happens because I want everyone to experience that fresh. The thing that happens to him, the joke, the big scene, it felt very Oda. It felt like something that would have been in the manga or the anime. I can't say enough good things about this show. The visuals felt awesome. There were so many Easter eggs and so many fun little visual surprises scattered throughout this episode. But the one, and I don't want to give any away, but the one thing I will talk about is the bounty posters. They did something so cool in this show with the bounty posters. And forgive me if I get this wrong. I don't recall seeing this in the anime usually. Like, I, I feel like there was an eye catcher at some point where they showed the bounty posters of each character. I don't know. Maybe I'm just remembering it wrong, but I feel like I see this more in the manga when a pirate is introduced, a notorious pirate is introduced, and they show their bounty poster as a part of their introduction. Um, I think I'm remembering that correctly. Regardless, it's happened in some form within One Piece where they show the bounty poster of a character and their bounty amount, and they do that in this show in such a cool way. Um, as soon as Alvita shows up, a giant bounty poster flies into the screen, and that's the only like um, comic booky uh, fourth wall kind of thing that happens in this series. Like I haven't seen the Cowboy Bebop live action, but based off of the trailer and based off of some clips I saw, there's a lot of quick shots and effects that try and make the live action Cowboy Bebop feel like a cartoon and feel more animated. And One Piece does not do that. This is straight up a fantasy show. Um, there's no pushed stylization in the editing of the show, which I love. I'm happy they went that route. But the only thing that does kind of teeter that line is the posters appearing. But it's cool, in my opinion. I thought it looked really cool. So yeah, Alvida's poster shows up in front of her, and then the bounty, the berries amount on the bounty poster, it scales up and it glows like orangey gold, almost like it's hot fire, like it's on fire. It's so cool. It blows up as the poster kind of fades away, and it just stays on screen for a little bit and then it goes away. It's so cool. And then there's a, I don't think it's a post-credit scene, but it kind of feels like a post-credit scene at the end to wrap up this episode. I won't say, there's other YouTubers and people who talk about this whole episode and go into detail. And if you don't care about spoilers, you can go in and watch those. But they do introduce a very cool character that I think, I'm sure you, if you're a One Piece fan, you know who I'm talking about. But they end the episode introducing this character, and I can't wait to see what non-One Piece fans think of all this. And it's gonna be great. But at the end of the episode, they do show a character, a famous villain, and they show their bounty poster, and that character actually interacts with the bounty poster, like he swaps it away, and it was so cool. Um, yeah, that was one of my favorite things in this first episode, as well as the bounty posters and the effects that they used for that. The show feels so fresh too. I've seen the East Blue Saga so many times. I've seen the Shellstown scene in so many ways, whether it was reading it, whether it was the Pirate Warriors story mode episode of East Blue and the original anime. I've seen those scenes so many times, and this show still made it all fresh. And I cannot wait to see. I can't wait to see Syrup Village now. I can't wait to see Usopp, and I can't wait to see Sanji. I can't wait to see Arlong Park. All of these things are going to feel so fresh and new, despite knowing what happens and despite experiencing these arcs and these story beats already so many times. I'm so excited, guys. I had to talk about it. I had to just put my thoughts out there. um in my opinion, this is on par with Harry Potter and the Marvel movies. This has that level of quality in everything. It's massive. Everything is fantastical. They even have the snail phones in it. They don't even explain what it is. A character in a scene just picks it up and starts talking with it, and it sounds the way it should sound, and it looks just as weird, and it's great. I loved this first episode. I cannot wait for this all to air. And I think the team behind this deserves all of the love and support. Matt Owens, Steve Maeda, you guys did it. You guys nailed it. All of the actors, all of the cast, you all nailed it. You all brought something really special to this. And I'm just blown away because I'm telling you, I didn't expect this at all. I was excited to see it, but I didn't expect it. I didn't expect to love it. I don't want to compare this to other anime adaptations because I honestly haven't seen that many. They've never appealed to me. They always look bad. And when I decide to give one a chance, I'm let down. But I will say, from the little that I've seen and from the various adaptations, trailers to other anime live action adaptations, in my opinion, this is the best one I have ever seen. And taking a step back to include all adaptations, this is one of the best adaptations of a fictional of a work of fiction that I've ever seen. So check it out when it comes out. I hope that if you were worried about this, I hope that this alleviates some of that worry. In my opinion, this was fantastic, and this is coming from a average One Piece fan, not a YouTuber, not yet. I wasn't paid by anybody. I don't have a big following. I just was lucky enough to attend, and I loved it. We have a really cool thing to look forward to, guys. I hope you all enjoy it. Thanks again for listening to my rant and ramble. Have a good one.